Welcome back to NFL Nexus, the ultimate destination for deep, cinematic dives into the unseen realities of professional football. I'm your host, and today we are breaking down a story of pure survival. We're looking at cold calculations and a franchise that literally gutted its entire foundation just to try and build something new. Before we unravel this whole high-stakes offseason explainer, do me a quick favor, take a second to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment below with your thoughts as we go. Oh, and if you really want to support these deep dives, consider becoming a channel member. It's your support that lets us keep pulling back the curtain on the NFL's most hidden truths. All right, so I want you to imagine the locker room of a championship contending franchise. Think about the sweat, the massive expectations, the brotherhood. And then imagine the doors locking and the floor just completely dropping out from underneath everybody. Everything changed in a matter of seconds. The confetti falls, the season ends, and bam, the brutal reality of the business just takes over. We're looking at a scenario where the actual heartbeat of a team is surgically removed. And not because they couldn't play, right, but because of the unforgiving, cold math of the modern NFL. But what happens to the guys left behind? What happens to the rookies who are suddenly asked to fill the shoes of literal legends? And what happens to a locker room's culture when loyalty is just completely replaced by the bottom line? Today, we are looking at the absolutely jarring reality of the Miami Dolphins' ruthless offseason and the chilling financial mechanisms that are basically dictating the entire league right now. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the mass exodus. We have to start here because the sheer shock of what happened down in South Florida, it really cannot be overstated. I mean, just look at these names. Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalan Phillips. Over the last few years, these weren't just guys on a roster. They were the absolute identity of the Miami Dolphins. Hill and Waddle, they formed arguably the most terrifying track star receiving duo we've ever seen in NFL history. Tua was the highly debated but incredibly productive engine, making that whole track meet run. And Phillips, he was the ferocious edge rusher, ultimately traded away in the regular season. Rapidly, just one by one, the massive names that built the entire hype machine in South Florida walked right out the door. The front office looked at this core and chose to completely gut the foundation, picking a total reset over trying to run it back one more time. And I think this quote perfectly captures the cinematic scale of the void left in that locker room. Pro Football Rumors literally called it a mass exodus of talent. Think about that word for a second. Exodus. That doesn't just mean a few minor trades. It implies a complete departure, right? A sudden, shocking vanishing of an entire era. The Dolphins didn't just retool here. They executed a calculated, ruthless demolition. But to really understand why a team would willingly part with that caliber of world-class talent, we've got to look beyond the grass. We have to look at the spreadsheets. Which brings us to Section 2, the brutal business. To truly wrap our heads around Miami's exodus, we actually have to pivot for a second and examine a perfect microcosm of the NFL's brutal financial reality. We need to look at the Patriots and the Stephon Diggs situation. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer blinding size of this number, $69 million. Back in March 2025, Stephon Diggs signed a 3-year, $69 million deal with New England. On paper, to the fans watching at home and the media hyping it up, it looked like a massive, rock-solid commitment. It looked like the Patriots were locking down a 4-time Pro Bowler to lead their franchise right back to relevance. But if you actually read the fine print, it was a complete trap. It was basically a mirage designed to look exactly like loyalty. Because this was his actual base salary for 2025. Just $2.9 million. Yeah, you heard that right. The Patriots engineered a contract that looked massive on a graphic, but actually cost them absolute pocket change up front. This is the hidden trapdoor in modern NFL contracts, guys. Out of that $69 million, only $22.6 million of the total was actually guaranteed money. Front offices are building these deals like car leases now. You get super low monthly costs right up front, and then a massive, unavoidable balloon payment later that literally everyone knows will trigger a return. And here is the poison pill of that whole deal. Diggs' 2026 base salary was scheduled to skyrocket to $20.6 million. Now, that huge jump wasn't some oopsie miscalculation by the Patriots. No, it was a deliberate, built-in escape hatch. The very moment that cap hit approached $26.5 million, which would have consumed about 7.5% of the team's entire salary cap, Diggs' fate was absolutely sealed. By releasing him, the Patriots saved $16.8 million instantly, and they cleared roughly $22.5 million in additional cap space for 2027. So what did they do? They extracted one elite, highly productive season at a massive discount, and right before the real money kicked in, they pulled the plug. I mean, think about his production. 85 catches, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns. Diggs became the very first Patriots wide receiver in 6 whole years to crack 1,000 yards. He helped drag that entire organization back to the Super Bowl stage, and his reward for all that blood, sweat, and production? One pink slip. In the National Football League, on-field production means absolutely nothing against the salary cap. Diggs gave them literally everything, but his 7th career 1,000-yard season weighed significantly less than the financial relief of just cutting him. This is the cold, hard new rule for star receivers over 30. Sign them cheap, extract every ounce of value, and cut them before the real money ever arrives. And honestly, this is exactly the cutthroat reality the Miami Dolphins are navigating right now, and exactly why their mass exodus was a mathematical inevitability. Moving on to Section 3, Miami's loyal anchor. Because amidst this incredibly cold, calculating business, amidst the mass exodus of superstars and these ruthless salary cap casualties, there is actually an emotional counterbalance to all of this. There's a player who somehow survived the gauntlet. We are talking about defensive tackle Zach Sieler. And listen, if you want a true cinematic story of survival in the NFL, this is the guy. Look at this incredible timeline. He started out as a completely unranked high school recruit. Nobody was looking at him. He literally had to walk on at Ferris State University just to get a shot to play. Then, against all odds, he becomes legendary Ravens GM Ozzie Newsome's very last draft pick ever, only to be waived in his 2nd season. But then, the Dolphins claim him off waivers, put him straight to work, and within 3 weeks, he gets his first career sack. Fast forward to today, and this ultimate underdog signed an extension, making him the highest paid player on Miami's entire defense, from a waived afterthought to the absolute top of the payroll. And he didn't just survive on the roster, he absolutely dominated. Over 7 years in Miami, Sieler has racked up 35.5 sacks, 59 tackles for loss, and 78 quarterback hits. I mean, in a rebuilding defense that literally just lost its star edge rusher in Jalen Phillips, Sieler's disruptiveness is the absolute anchor of this team right now. He has constantly pestered opposing backfields, delivered straight double-digit sack seasons, and proved to the whole league that sometimes the waiver wire holds a literal franchise cornerstone. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate contrast at the core of this franchise right now. While the front office is upstairs executing this ruthless, mathematically driven exodus of top talent, Zach Sieler is looking right at the media and stating unequivocally that he wants to retire a Dolphin. He says he will do whatever it takes to make that happen. Sieler's deep loyalty and veteran presence offer this profound, almost shocking emotional anchor in a locker room that is otherwise completely spinning from absolute turnover. He's essentially the lone survivor standing in the wreckage, proudly holding the shield. Which takes us to Section 4, a new connection. Because as much as we love defensive standouts, a defense alone cannot win championships in today's NFL. With Tua, Hill, and Waddle totally gone, the Dolphins are forced to establish entirely new blood. They have to manufacture a brand new connection to step into that massive offensive void. So let's look at the really fascinating, almost parallel destinies of Miami's new starting quarterback and tight end. On one side, you have Greg Dulcich. He's a California native, an absolute out-of-this-world deep ball threat who averaged a gargantuan 19.9 yards per reception back at UCLA. He gets drafted 80th overall by Denver in 2022. Then, on the exact same draft board, you have Malik Willis, a Georgia native who threw for nearly 3,000 yards and 27 touchdowns at an independent school, drafted just 6 picks later at number 86 overall by Tennessee. They didn't go to the same school, they obviously didn't grow up together, but their paths in this league were destined to cross. And where did they cross? At the 2022 Senior Bowl. They shared the field just briefly, but man, it was enough to plant a seed. Dulcich recently recalled this connection, noting that Willis's elite football IQ lets him learn exactly how receivers run their routes almost instantly. Now, years removed from that brief meeting in Mobile, they are reunited at the highest possible level in Miami. Dulcich already provided a steady hand late in the 2025 season, catching passes in almost every single final game. This pre-existing chemistry, forged years ago when they were just draft hopefuls, is the exact spark of hope Miami desperately needs to ignite their completely overhauled 2026 offense. It really is these small, unseen, behind-the-scenes connections that so often become the rock-solid foundation of a massive rebuild. And that brings us to our final piece in Section 5. The rookie phenom. Because honestly, the most intense pressure of this entire rebuild doesn't actually fall on the veterans. It falls on a newcomer.
This is the ultimate high-pressure test for a rookie stepping straight into the absolute deep end of the NFL pool.
Enter first-round cornerback Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. Head coach Jeff Hafley hasn't just handed this kid a playbook, he's practically dropped an anvil on this rookie's shoulders right out of the gate. The clock is ticking down loud and fast until their September 13th opener against the Raiders, and Johnson isn't being allowed the luxury of just blending in. No way. He's being asked to play inside, he's being asked to play outside, he's focusing heavily on the nickel spot, and he's doing all of this while trying to transition from a fairly simple college man-to-man scheme to a highly complex NFL zone defense. Hafley's philosophy here seems pretty clear. We're going to throw absolutely everything at this kid and see if he breaks under the weight.
But here's the thing. He hasn't broken. Hafley noted to reporters that Johnson has responded beautifully, repeatedly using the word mature to describe him. And look closely at that last sentence. He sees the game very fast. Let's be crystal clear about something. Athletic cornerbacks in the NFL are a dime a dozen, right? The league is absolutely stuffed with guys who run fast but process the game slow. And those guys, they don't last long. In a league as incredibly fast and brutal as this, mental processing speed is literally the only thing that separates true generational superstars from catastrophic draft busts. Johnson's brain is working every bit as fast as his feet, and that's allowing him to absorb all these multiple alignments without drowning in the sheer complexity of it all.
So, the crucial point we need to understand is embedded right here in the rookie's own philosophy. Every ball in the air is money. Man, that is a phrase you literally paint on the locker room wall. Johnson preaches relentless effort, noting that if you aren't running full speed to the ball, you simply won't be there when the fumble pops out or the tip drill happens. He actually enjoys the pressure. He fully embraces it. And honestly, this quote perfectly sums up the zero margin for error reality of the entire league right now. You either make the play, secure the bag, and survive the final cut, or you are out of the building. But you know what surprised Johnson the most? It wasn't the insane speed of the receivers, and it wasn't even the complexity of Hafley's playbook. It was the welcome he received. Despite growing up hearing all those horror story rumors of NFL hazing and isolation, he actually found an incredibly open, honest locker room in Miami. Nobody keeps any secrets, he said. If I ask anybody anything, they'll help me. And guys, this culture is absolutely vital. Think about it. While the front office operates as this cutthroat, mathematically cold entity that is slashing 1,000-yard receivers and tearing down entire rosters, the locker room is a pure brotherhood. It's the grizzled veterans putting an arm around the rookies. It's the survivors holding the line together. That culture is realistically the only life raft keeping this franchise afloat as they sail into the super choppy, uncertain waters of a massive rebuild. Which finally brings us to the ultimate question that is just lingering over Miami, New England, and honestly the entire National Football League. We've seen the trapdoor contracts, we've seen the stubborn loyalty of players like Zach Steeler, and we've seen rookies like Chris Johnson carrying the literal weight of a franchise on their shoulders. So I gotta ask you, is cutting a 1,000-yard receiver actually smart, necessary cap management to build a sustainable future, or is it a franchise explicitly telling its veterans that loyalty means absolutely nothing? I really want to know what you guys think about this. Drop your answers in the comments below. Make sure you like this explainer, hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus, and please become a channel member to support these deep dives. Until next time, keep your eyes on the fine print, because in this league, the story is never really over.